Welcome back after hours to another edition of the KSL Sportsbeat Afterhours podcast. I'm your host, Sean Walker, joined as I always am by the lovely sultry tones of Hema Heimuli
Junior. What's up, everybody?
And Hema, I think we need to start off giving ourselves a little bit of a couple of props.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Because we've made it like a full month into the podcast.
Has it been a month already?
This is episode 4. That's
oh my
4
gosh.
weeks.
I can't believe it. Achievement unlocked.
So we definitely unlocked an achievement. In fact, I think we unlocked like 4 achievements.
We made it.
We actually made it. We made it, guys. We're 4 weeks in.
We didn't stop after like the second one.
Yeah, which is amazing.
This is big for us.
I'll admit it. I thought about it.
Oh, are you kidding me? It's like freaking 1 o'clock right now.
Yeah, we're unpaid podcasters, so of course we thought about it. But I'm really glad that we made it this far.
Me too.
Because I think this is our best episode yet. I might be biased.
I can't wait.
But I really think this is our best episode yet. We're going to be joined a little bit later by friend of the pod, now friend of the show.
And personal friend, I think.
Yeah.
I think we're tight now.
Long-time listener, now first-time caller, James Curran. You might know him as James the Mormon, Provo's finest, Utah's best not a rapper in my book.
Yep.
So he's going to join us a little bit later in the pod, talk about his new album coming up, some charity work that he's doing, and just breaking into the Salt Lake hip hop scene, which I know for a lot of you out there listening, and you know who you are, all 12 of you. That sounds like a contradiction. I promise it's not. Hema can back me up on this one.
No, he's legit. Me and JTM talked at length about it on the socials. He knows that I appreciate what he's putting down, so I know you guys will too, for sure.
Yeah. No more hater Hema. No more hater. We're gonna have to apologize to him, I think, when we bring him on. Well,
I'm not a hater. I'm gonna let him know for sure.
All right, we'll apologize to him when we bring him on. But first, as we always do, we got to get something out of the way. Hema, the Utah Jazz, opened up the Western Conference semifinals tonight. That was Sunday afternoon, I guess, at Houston. Longtime nemesis, Western Conference rival nemesis.
A lot of history.
Yeah, a lot of history. For the 8th time in postseason play, the Utah Jazz met up with the Houston Rockets. And it went well, right? Yeah, not so much.
Yeah, it went well maybe for the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, that was about it. Joe Ingles hit a really nice mid-range jumper like a minute into the game.
Yeah.
That was about the last
That
highlight,
was about it.
I think, yeah, that was really about it. Jazz fall 110-96 between the Fighting James Hardens.
The Fighting Beards.
Yeah, the Fighting Beards, if you will. Really not a totally unexpected result, though.
No.
I don't think this is the top-seeded team in the West. Some would say the best team in the NBA.
Some would say the best player in the NBA is on
James
this
Harden.
team.
Yeah.
Some would say the Jazz don't do too well on quick turnaround games, which this was.
About 38 hours between Game 6 against Oklahoma City and Game 1 at Houston.
Yeah.
And they had to get from Salt Lake to the great state of Texas.
Right. It's like you get in a fight the night before. You beat the guy, but you also get your butt kicked, and then you have to travel to Texas to beat up some other guy. Like
Yeah, pretty much.
It's rough, man.
Yeah, it's a little
tough
rough.
stuff.
It's a little rough. So Utah Jazz fall. Still a couple highlights out of this one. Donovan Mitchell, 21 points, 5 assists. Rudy Gobert, a little bit of a tough night, 11 points, 9 rebounds. Jazz are probably going to need a little bit more out of him. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that.
Right.
No offense, Rudy. I don't want to make him mad. Send his emoji game after us because it's mean.
Dude, he's on point with the soch.
Yeah, but I think that I think there are a lot of Jasmine right now that know they probably need to do a little bit more. Jay Crowder with the team high, co-team high, I guess, 21 points, 5 rebounds. Yep. I like Jay Crowder. Maybe he shouldn't be the leading scorer though on this Jazz team.
Well, let me tell you, like, obviously, for those who don't know, Rubio
also
got
Jay
hurt.
Crowder's my boy. I like Jay Crowder.
Yeah,
I really
Crowder.
like him.
Yeah,
Corey Crowder's son.
Yep. Another jazz man.
Yeah, another jazz man there.
Yeah, Rubio didn't play this game. He's expected to miss Game 2, he hurt his hamstring in Game 6 of the against the Thunder.
Oh yeah, I guess we should mention that.
Right. So we were severely lacking in the guard position. The youngins came out, Exum and O'Neal. They tried really hard,
but in the end, Utah's point guard situation was kind of.
Anybody?
Nothing.
Yeah.
It was SWAT Lake City against Salt Lake. Like those boys were getting swatted left and right. Yeah. And it's really hard to go up against Harden, and I get it.
It was rough.
Little
welcome to the league moment. James Harden goes off for 41 points. He's good.
But I guarantee you the next game, which is on Wednesday.
Wednesday evening.
2 days from now.
6 p.m. Mountain Time.
2.5 days, I guess. The Jazz boys will get their rest. They'll get their game plan together. I guarantee you it won't be us from behind the entire game. Will we win? I don't know. But I know that we're not going to be playing from behind. There's going to be some switches in who's leading throughout that game. Once we get our shiz together and once we have healthy, rested bodies, it should be a lot better.
Yeah, so Jazz fall 110-96 in the Western Conference semifinal opener at Houston. Game 2 this Wednesday, 6 p.m. Check us out. Jeremiah Jensen's on the ground in Houston right now. Yep. All of his coverage, KSL TV, KSL.com. Got to give a little plug to the mothership.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Let's for the Jazz boys on their good run, and for our boys on the ground covering the team, let's crack open a cold one in honor of those guys. All right. Cheers, mate.
Yep. So there we go. That's the Jazz. We won't spend any more time on that because we don't want this to be a sad podcast.
Right.
So shout out to the Jazz. Shout out to Donovan Mitchell. Shout out to James Harden's beard. Both of us, we're going to describe something visual in an audio medium. Both of us rock some facial hair. So we appreciate you, James Harden, even if we aren't fans.
Bro. We understand.
But we get the beard. We get the hashtag beard life.
Yeah.
Coincidentally enough, if you got a good tweet, hashtag beard life at KSL Sports, we'll retweet the best ones.
All right, let's do it.
See if anybody's actually listening to this that's on Twitter. So at KSL Sports, use the hashtag beard life, and tell us which one of us has better facial hair.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Hema or Sean? Team Hema or Team Sean?
Team Hema or Team Sean?
I'm going to go with Team Hema.
Yeah.
But
Sean, yours is pretty good.
I mean, maybe.
So, I'm excited to get our next guest on. He does not have a beard.
No, he does not.
He does not have a beard.
But he looks good anyways.
He would look good with a beard, I think.
He'd look really good with a beard.
I think he'd look good with both. There's some people. Yeah,
I'll text him. I'll text him this.
Yeah, beard or not, who cares? He's a handsome man. That James the Mormon. That's for sure.
Yeah, Provo's finest, James the Mormon, the best not a rapper in the Salt Lake and Utah counties combined. Joining us right here on the Salt City FC podcast to talk about his new album, a little bit of charity work, and what's next for JTM. Joining us now on the line from his home in Utah County, P-Town, the mean streets of Salt Lake City and beyond, joining us to break some pretty exciting news. I think it's Utah's favorite hip-hop artist and not a rapper, very boring, James the Mormon. James, thanks so much for joining us on the Sportsbeat Afterhours podcast.
It is my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure.
Yeah, no, like I said.
Thanks for having me.
Like I said, you are officially the favorite hip hop artist / not a rapper of the Sportsbeat After Hours podcast. So whatever that means to you, I think it's still a fact. And you are a noted, what's the word you use? I think it was hater, Hema?
No. That is incorrect, my man. No, James, it's good to have you on, buddy. I'm really excited to talk to you. So let me clarify to the people listening. What happened was on the last pod, I was talking about how good James the Mormon is for the music community here, for the rap community here. And I said, he does get a lot of hate, but ... And I feel like on Twitter, it was like, people were like, so you hate James the Mormon? And I'm like, no, that is like the opposite of what I was trying to say.
Just so you know, I never thought, Hema, just so you know, I never thought that you were hating on me.
Oh,
ever.
Good.
What I thought was being conveyed was like you were like watching it, and you were watching it, and you're like, man, James gets a lot of hate. Just like it was like almost like that was like in response to what you're seeing, but which is true. I do get a lot of hate.
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny that was one of the first things that came out of your mouth.
Oh no, well it was the first, and
it's like what people know about me is like, oh, James, yeah, he gets a lot of hate.
Yeah. No, I think, and that's not, I would hope that the first thing people notice is your talent and your drive. If that's the first thing they notice, that kind of is unfortunate because like, I think we're on the same page here. Like what I was saying is that you're so talented that it's a wonder why you get so much hate. You know what I'm saying? And now this is the first time I've ever talked to you. But from people I know that have talked to you and hung out with you, like you're a really cool guy, a really down to earth guy. I actually, I was surprised because I don't remember when this was, and I don't know if you remember, but you were in like St. George or something, and you were kicking it at my cousin Ty Murray's house. Do you know Ty Murray? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or
I think I remember doing that.
Yeah, or it was at his in-laws' house. Like Lauren Knox is his wife. But yeah, it was like you and Jay Warren, and like you were on his like Insta stories, and I was like super jealous. I was like, what? They're just kicking it with James the Mormon and Jay Warren and like all those cats. It was pretty dope. But yeah, so I wanted to see if you remembered that little story because because I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the music and stuff that you're going to be putting out soon. Your solo album, also some work you've done with Jay. That's really dope. That's like on my rotating playlist. So yeah,
dude, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Cool. Yeah. So let's get into it.
Yeah, James, if we could, let's actually start right there with kind of why we were talking about you a couple weeks ago here on the After Hours podcast. Your new track, one of your newer tracks, I guess. You're producing something like every other day. I don't know how you do it, but big props to you. One of your newer tracks called Buck Wild. Buck Wild. I think I said it right that time. But I swear you've got cameos from like every esteemed player in the Utah hip hop community on there. Can you just can you just give us a little bit of that backstory, kind of how that came together and how you got so many people together in one place in one boxing ring, it looks like, to kind of come together on this track?
Absolutely. So when I'm Not a Rapper came out, and was already a very like tight knit hip hop scene in Salt Lake that I actually had no idea and nothing to do with. I was very ignorant to that was going on, and when that came out, there was just kind of like, who's this guy blowing up? You know, he hasn't paid his dues, so we don't even know who he is, you know, type of thing. And I always wish that that wasn't the case, because one of my one of the core things that I want to do is, regardless of like religion, I want to bring unity and love throughout all people. So none of those people in that video are LDS except for me, just so you know. And I went down there and into the several times and just introduced myself, tried to go to a few events, get to know a lot of the scene, and from over the past year, I was able to become friends with a lot of those guys. And when I was doing this album, I wanted it to be very inclusive and collaborative, and I decided to at least have one track where it was kind of a cipher, and we could bring all those guys onto it.
That's really awesome. My favorite part of listening to the track, because like we had in the last pod, this is the first time I ever saw it or listened to it, was how everyone like just kind of like stepped up one after another. It seemed really it flowed really seamlessly, and I was instantly thinking like, whoa, did these guys like do these guys just have ciphers like all the time? You know what I mean? Like, do they just, throw each other the alley-oops all the time? That's what I got.
Maybe they're sitting around at Ty Murray's house, like just pitching back and forth or something.
Just kicking it. How was it? So you being like, would the outsider be an appropriate word? Like, because you didn't know that there was this rap scene here.
I was definitely the outsider.
How was it? How were you received? Like in this, because hip hop's a tight knit community. Especially like underground stuff.
So, as far as the hip hop community, they're very tight knit. They never heard of me. I'd never like done a show. And I just kind of in their eyes kind of blew up overnight. And I, with that, I think, expected a lot of hate came with it. And I think a lot of people it's very confusing when you find someone named James the Mormon, especially if you know what Mormons are, or you live in Utah. And, I just made an effort to go down there and introduce myself. And
yeah,
let me ask you this about the Buck Wild song. Did you produce that yourself?
No, so I don't produce any of my own music.
Okay. Because that Buck Wild track has a very like Childish Gambino, like I don't know who produces his stuff, but it has that kind of vibe to it, which I think is dope. I like Childish Gambino.
I love Childish Gambino.
Yeah, like I don't know if you got that same vibe from it. Also, it's almost like what was that Childish Gambino song? That is, I think it's Sweat.
Freaks and Geeks.
Maybe it's Freaks and Geeks. Yeah, it was either that or like Sweatshirt. But that Buck Wild song kind of had that like that hard hitting like rapid fire kind of pace to it, which I liked. So I wanted to ask you if you produced that and if there was like any influence or whatever. But who produced that track? Do you use the same producers on all your tracks?
So I have probably a little network of about like 10 producers. And this specific producer's name is HG Free, and he's currently serving a mission in the Philippines.
Wow. That's cool.
He was 17 when he wrote that.
Oh my goodness. Because that beat is hard.
That is amazing. Yeah, no, big shout out to him.
He also produced half of I'm Not a Rapper.
Wow. Interesting.
So you're not, so when you go by the handle James the Mormon, and I know you personally, you've kind of put this out on social media a lot about potentially changing that and kind of some of just the I guess internal struggles you've had with JTM, which it seems like you're pretty good with that now. But as you put out, James the Mormon as the brand, the handle, all that, you're also bringing up like other LDS talent, artists, producers, that kind of thing to kind of elevate the game, as it were, within just LDS type music, I guess. Is that fair?
Well, I don't want to ever make like LDS music, but I've collaborated with a lot of LDS people who are extremely talented, like Jay Warren, Junior Miley, Sione Toki. They're all LDS, but I also collaborate with a lot of people who aren't LDS as well. But the music is always going to be secular.
Well, part of that secular music, and I was just listening to a teaser track. It's come from your new album, your first full length album, as James the Mormon. It's called We Came to Play. Drops this week, May 2nd. Pre-orders are now available, and we'll get to that in a second. But can you just give us a little bit of backstory behind this album and why now? Why is now kind of the time for you to debut a full length album, as opposed to what you've done before with your EP and your solo tracks and everything?
Yeah, so I wrote a whole nother album called Something to Prove. And this album is a very like heartfelt album. It goes into a lot of personal things. And this is like the album that I like want to retire off of. This is what I want the world to hear. But I realized that if I released that album, the only people that would hear it are Mormons. And that was literally the opposite of what I was trying to do. I was never trying to make music for Mormons. I wanted to make music for people who weren't on my faith and hopefully, change their perception of what a Mormon was. So I had to backtrack, and I worked with Jay actually, and I said, we need a publicist that can release stuff to the nation. And Jay somehow, with his ninja skills, found Shore Media, which is Beyonce's publicist, and talked to them and convinced them to bring us on. We're the first independent artist that they've ever worked with.
That is incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, and I don't know if you've seen, we've been able to be on BET recently a few times, and we're going to be on XL this week. But and these are all national brands and publications, so that share specifically hip hop music. And I thought about it. I was like, what if I put out this album? It's kind of more of a heartfelt, and you have to kind of be attached to the artist to even appreciate it. So I went back and I wrote a whole nother album that was just like kind of a bunch of bangers that hopefully the world would like appreciate and be like, oh, this is cool. And then they would actually listen to my heartfelt album, if that makes sense. So the goal is make a really just like palatable, rap album, put it out. Hopefully it charts, it makes national news. Then people are listening. And then I release the heartfelt album, which actually talks about real things and real issues, and then they'll pay attention.
For sure. Well, here for their everyone's listening pleasure, for those who haven't heard it, which I think is pretty much nobody right now, but for those who haven't, here's just a short clip from one of those tracks on that album. You put it out as a teaser called Gravity.
Yes.
And I want to get into this,
but the main track off the motivation of this year's album. For those who are familiar with Motivation, the big video with all the cameos and just like high production and featuring Sione Toki and so.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm in my own lane, clean name over the fame. Very few can say the same, didn't change it for the change now. Very few can say the same, very few can say the same, yeah. Hands up, don't sit down, stand up, get your bands up, don't play no Nintendo. Don't I make it look easy, saw my moment in season. Sick of being told who I am and what my purpose is. Every single move I make, my enemies be surfacing. Fame up on my back like my vertebrae, a Herschel kid. You ain't blood, I cut you off and tighten up the tourniquet. I am on the verge, treat that heat like it's the purge. Don't you question my endurance till I'm 6 feet in the dirt. See me die coming first. Matter of fact, you'll call the nurse. Pumping, I be in my heart and I be working in a hearse. They said me a Machiavelli cause I came into.
So that is Gravity from the first full-length track, full-track album by James the Mormon, Utah's own James the Mormon, right there. And I got to admit, Hema, I really like that. Big shout-out again to you, James, and also your producers, getting, once again, just amazing production talent out of this
That's also
album.
the kid on his mission.
Oh, my goodness.
Also the kid on his mission.
That kid is hard.
Yeah, amazing.
I came up.
He was 17 when he wrote all these. So he was just turned 17 when he helped me with Before on the last album. And then he was like, I'm putting my papers in. I was like, awesome. I 100% support that. But I need you to make 1 million beats before you leave.
Oh, man. So, yeah.
And that's how James started funding missionaries for the LDS Church.
Yeah.
That kid.
You know what's funny?
Go ahead.
It's funny. I'm actually the last album that charted, we gave 50% of the album to the LDS Missionary Fund, and then this album, all the pre-orders are going to OUR. 50% are going to OUR. But when this comes out on May 2nd, for that first week, when I'm giving 100% of it to the LDS Missionary Fund.
Wow, that's
awesome.
Great.
Yeah. So, part musician, part philanthropist as well, donating money to the LDS Church. And also, I wanted to get into that. Most of your pre-orders are going to OUR. You mentioned it. That's Operation Underground Railroad, a nonprofit whose goal is to rescue children sold into sex slavery. Very worthy cause, very knowledgeable cause. One that's really, quite frankly, in the news quite a bit right now, just with various national news stories and whatnot that shouldn't be a story, I guess, but they really are. How'd you get connected with these guys, and what kind of stood out about their mission to you, James?
I didn't know much about it until they came to a show, and I think they were promoting it, and I learned more about them. Then they asked me to make a little clip to promote it. And as the more I thought about it, I was like, I'm super passionate about this. Like, if there's one thing that hurts me to my core is just that is children who are being kidnapped and sold into sex slavery, and their sole mission is to rescue those children and to rehabilitate them. So I can't think of a more worthy cause than to rescue those kids.
I love it. I thank goodness have never had any experiences like with that sort of thing, but I do have, 2 kids, a 3-year-old boy and a 8-month-old girl. And, man, it's, even though I don't have a connection to this, organization or this, thing that's happening, I still feel connected in that way. And I'm sure, you feel just as strongly as I do. Like, although, it might not be a personal, connection, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I feel you on that, man. And that's really great. And I was surprised that you're donating so much to this cause, and hopefully everyone buys it, because that's a cause that everyone should be able to get behind.
Yeah, so it's a great album, a whole bunch of great tracks. Great cause.
Yeah, I think I really, really like. My hope is that even if you're not like a hip hop fan, maybe you'll, want to contribute to, that cause in one way or another.
Definitely. The album is called We Came to Play. You can find out more about it on your website, jamesthemormon.com. Links to your various outlets, Spotify track, Amazon Music, Apple Music, SoundCloud. I'm probably missing a couple of others, but all of those are all under jamesthemormon.com. Pre-orders are now available. Support Operation Underground Railroad. Full album drops May 2nd. So once again, James the Mormon, a.k.a. the godfather of Utah hip-hop, a.k.a. Brigham Funk,
a.k.a. Hits Romney,
a.k.a. Jazz Dillinger,
a.k.a. Porter Rapwell. We had fun coming up with all these names for you, bro.
No, I like them all.
Yeah. No, James, thanks so much for joining us on the Sportsbeat After Hours podcast.
It was my pleasure.
Once again, big thanks to JTM, James the Mormon, joining us in studio. Well, sort of in studio, via phone, I should say.
Yeah.
The longtime listener, first-time caller. And by long time, I mean I think he once listened to a podcast episode that we did, because I happened to tweet it and I tagged him on Twitter. So.
Well, he's obviously going to listen to this one, so 2 out of 4 ain't bad.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Right. James?
Yeah. James, you there? James?
Oh, come on. I know you can hear me.
Nah, he'll be listening.
Yeah. So shout out to James the Mormon. Go catch his new album.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
album.
not a single. His new album, May 2nd. Pre-orders going to a great cause, Operation Underground Railroad. Wonderful cause out there.
Absolutely.
Also donating a bunch of the funds to the Elias Church's missionary department. So spreading the gospel and spreading some pretty sick beats as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. We are fans of friend of the show.
Yeah.
James Mormon. So.
I haven't been excited. I haven't been this excited for someone to come home from their mission since Britton Covey.
The Pride of P-Town, once again.
Pride of P-Town.
Timpview High, represent.
Yep. Shout out to the Utes.
Shout out to the T-Birds.
Yep.
Shout out to P-Town. Shout out to Utah. Shout out to Britton Covey. The second most awaited return missionary behind James the Mormon's producer, HG.
Yep.
So, yeah. Thanks once again to him for having us on. Go to his website, jamesthemormon.com, to find all of his music, how to download Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, etc.
All that.
You guys can find all that there. You know how to use the internet. At least I hope you do. Otherwise, you're probably not listening to this podcast. Hema.
Yes.
I want to get back into sports now.
Let's do it.
Because we're sports guys
at
heart. there was another opener here in
That's right.
In the Salt. Well, not really in Salt Lake, but involving a local team, a Salt Lake-based team. This weekend, this Sunday, that was the Utah Warriors.
Warriors.
Yeah, finally kicking off Major League Rugby action.
Yep, this is the season. This is it. This is for real. These games count. And I was really excited. They actually headed back to one of my old hometowns, San Diego.
Shout out to San Diego.
Shout out to San Diego, man. They
Shouty
outy to the San Diego Legion, and they actually took it to our Utah boys.
Yeah, 31-24 for the home team there at Torero Stadium on the campus, on the beautiful campus of USD. Shout out to the Jenny Craig Pavilion where I spend plenty of time.
And Utah didn't do too bad. They were playing from behind most of the match. There was only one time before the half where they actually led.
Yeah, this was actually a really fun game.
It was good.
This
was
a
good to
fun
watch.
game. And if you can't tell, Hema's Polynesian here.
Yeah.
And I'm the what's the word you use for people like me, the Poli?
No, you're the Palangi.
I'm the Palangi.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm the Palangi. I'm the white boy. I know a little bit about rugby here and
he
there,
knows.
but I'm trying to get into it. Like I'm trying to feel it out, like a lot of you.
Yeah.
And this match right here, I know the Warriors didn't win, so some of our friends over at Utah, our good friend Alfie, Coach Alfie, Daniels, head coach of the Warriors. We should have him on the pod.
Oh, we should.
We'll call him.
Fun fact, and we'll get into this later. He was my grandpa's home teacher back.
Yeah, we're
back
going to have
in
to talk
New
about
Zealand.
that one.
We'll talk about that
We'll
later.
definitely have to talk about that one. So, yeah, Al's not going to like me saying this too much, but because his team lost, his side lost in this match. This was a really good game, though.
It was fun to watch.
Like a really good game. Like, if you weren't a fan of rugby, if you were watching this,
Yeah.
I think this maybe might have converted some people in the San Diego area. About 2,000 people at Torero Stadium. Decent enough crowd. I'm curious to know how many of them were rugby fans before and how many are rugby fans after. Because this was very entertaining.
Yeah.
It was very well played. There weren't a whole lot of out-and-out mistakes.
Sure.
Turnovers and that kind of thing. Just good, hardcore defense. Some really nice runs being made. Again, the Warriors are on the losing end of the effort, 31-24. But I think you come away with this match realizing that this league's pretty good.
Oh, this league is really good for a first-year league. My thoughts on the match were a little mixed. I think, like you said, it was very entertaining. There were some mistakes. I don't know if it's just me like holding the Utah Warriors to a higher standard where I think they should be playing this way.
Fair.
Or if it's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I feel like there are a lot of areas that are lacking that we need to shore up. Is it going to get better as the games go on? I sure hope so. I don't know. But there's only a couple areas that I'm thinking of where we need help. Obviously, with the loss of Josh Whippy.
Oh, killer.
He-
Broken leg last week in the final exhibition game against Alberta. So,
Yeah, in the drubbing where Utah just absolutely spanked Alberta. It was like 80-12, right? 80-12 or 80-15 or something like that. We spanked them. And
I love how you say we like you're on the team.
Oh, right.
I guess you got cousins on the team, so you might as well.
we're all related, so
That's
yeah.
fair. You're all what's the word I'm looking for? Tukos?
yeah, we're Tokos, all of us. Yeah.
You're all Tukos.
They sorely miss Josh Whippy because he's very sure with his passes. You know, he doesn't knock on very often. For those that don't know, that just means the ball goes forward after you touch it because you're not supposed to pass forward. You're supposed to pass backwards. So our backs were a little loose with the ball. I would like them to not turn the ball over at all. And I don't know if that's just my standard or I think a team coached by Alf Daniels with so much talent that we have shouldn't be giving the ball away cheaply. It should be after a big hit. It should be after, some kind of contact. Just dropping the ball is unacceptable. And that's the problem with our backs, our back core. And we miss having Josh on the team for sure.
Yeah, Josh Whippy definitely would help that a lot. I feel like bringing in Kurt Morath, Tonga's all-time trial leader, maybe helps out a little bit. But he also just barely got into town. He played
literally just barely.
Yeah, like this week.
Yeah.
So he probably needs a week or so to really get up to speed, kind of get chemistry and in sync with his teammates. He's Tonga's all-time trial leader. He's obviously got talent. He's still got good game. 6-footer, 200 pounds. He's also 33 years old.
Sure,
so
we'll
see,
older.
How much he can play and whatnot. But I feel like he's still got some juice in those old legs, as they like to say.
Absolutely, he brings the leadership. He brings a certain edge. Now, you bring up a good point. You got to remember, this guy's a Tongan international. There are some Tongans on the team. There's also Samoans. There's also Eagles. People that have played with the national team. Paul Lasike is from New Zealand. We've got the Whippies that are from Fiji.
Morath was born in New Zealand, I think.
Probably.
I think. Let me look it up.
But my point is...
Keep talking. I'll look it up.
My point is, there are different styles of playing rugby. There's a lot of international flavors.
Yeah. Born in Takapuna, New Zealand, grew up in Tonga. So,
okay.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's still, if you... Kind of like the Jazz, it took a while to mesh. We have, a lot of internationals on the team, a lot of different styles. As soon as the team gets going, just like the Jazz, I believe, they're gonna mesh. They're gonna find their game, and they're gonna execute. This game that against San Diego, the backs didn't execute as well as I hoped. Now let's move to the forwards. The forwards are the big guys, the big ones. When they're in the scrum, they're the ones that are locking together. They're the ones that go head to head. Those are the big boys. And for the past few games, I felt that our forwards weren't doing too much banging on the line, right? So they should be running straight ahead, no fancy footwork, just smashing heads. We need our big boys to plow through, because once the big boys smash heads, create that north to south direction, it makes the defense respect that north to south movement, which will create the space for the backs to cut in, cut out, move around, make diagonal runs. And I feel like our forwards are getting a little bit better. Matty Jensen, the big forward, he scored a try last game. He's doing a lot of that. Sayo Uhila, another big Tongan forward, he's doing a lot of smash mouth running. Tucci, I feel like he still runs diagonally. You got to move forward, dude. You're a big guy. You got to smash heads like a big guy. And I feel like our forwards need to do a little bit better of that, and create the space for our backs to be able to get through, make runs. So I think they're getting better, but obviously they didn't get the results, and I feel like they still need to. I'm sure Alpha's telling them the same thing, and I'm no
probably.
I mean, I'm no international coach or anything like that, but that's just some observances that I had, and hopefully the next game will be better. Hopefully the next game we can figure it out, mesh, make that chemistry a little bit better, and hopefully who we play next week.
This Saturday, May the 5th, May the Cinco, home opener against the Glendale Raptors.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So,
that's right. I knew they were coming up soon. I didn't know it was the next game. Glendale is my number one in the league. They are a really, really good, solid team.
Been around for about 10 years.
Absolutely.
Oldest professional rugby team in the country.
The oldest, I would say the best right now. Close second would be Seattle.
Former BYU star Sean Davies stars for the Raptors.
Yeah, a lot of local boys that have come through, because
for those who aren't aware, Glendale is a suburb of Denver, Colorado.
Right.
So
it's not Utah Glendale.
Yeah. So just on the other side of the Rocky Mountains.
Really close.
Mountains. So
yeah. So these guys spanked us in the preseason. I think it was the first game we played as a team.
Mm-hmm. Had to come from behind, though, if you remember. Utah scored the first
That's
try
right.
in that game.
We drew first blood, but then they came back and we couldn't answer.
Utah only drew once after that.
Right. So
both statements are true.
Absolutely. So yeah, thanks for reminding me. So we have our work cut out for us, I think. Utah needs to definitely fix some mistakes, shore up their backs and their forwards, make sure everyone's doing the right things. Because without Josh, I don't see us scoring as much. That Jared Whippy to Josh Whippy connection was amazing against Alberta, and someone needs to be that connection for these next few games.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I think Kurt can eventually step into that role. It might take a little bit of time. We'll see if he's ready and fit and fully in sync with his teammates. by Saturday. That's Saturday, May 5th, 1:30, 3:30 Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time, Zions Bank Stadium. It's the MLR home opener for the Utah Warriors. Then they have a quick turnaround to the next Friday. They host Austin Elite there Friday night, 7 o'clock Mountain Time, CBS Sports Game of the Week.
Oh, cool.
If you're into that sort of thing. So a lot of chances to get out to Harriman, get out to Zions Bank Stadium. By the way, beautiful stadium up there.
Oh, amazing.
We just spent some time out there recently with Real Monarchs.
Yes.
Incredible stadium.
Yep.
They've got out there. If you haven't been, go. The tickets are cheap.
Yep.
The beers are cheaper. The views, I think the vistas are some of the best in the Salt Lake Valley.
Mm-hmm.
You've got just a gorgeous view where you look to the left, and you can see the Ochre Mountains, and you look to the right, and you can see the Wasatch Mountains, and it's
beautiful.
They're still snow-capped right now, and yeah, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So, speaking of stadium openers, we should probably touch on that right there. Real Monarchs
Absolutely
going to open up that Zions Bank Stadium.
Yep.
Tonight, by the time most of you listen
Monday.
to this,
Yep.
tonight, Monday, April 30th, 7 p.m. Mountain Time in Harriman. Real Monarchs going to christen their new stadium in a little bit of a local derby, the I-15 derby. Expansion side, Las Vegas Lights FC, Freddie Adu coming into town right there.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. So no better time like the present, really, to experience Harriman, experience the ZBS, as some are calling it. And the Monarchs are good.
They're so good.
The Monarchs are really good right now. 4-1 on the season, coming off of a loss to Tampa Bay. So you know they're going to be hungry. They're going to want to put on a show. We'll see if they can get it
Right.
tonight against Vegas.
And
High hopes right now. Vegas just played Friday night. They lost to San Antonio. So
yeah. What milestone are they hitting? Someone on the I forget who it was.
Oh, Chandler Hoffman.
Chandler Hoffman.
Chandler
That's
Hoffman
right.
sitting on 49 career goals. So his
He
next
could-
goal will make him the third player in USL's modern era to score 50 goals.
Excellent.
First since Dane Kelly and Rito a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So really exciting. Come out for that, or come out for the stadium, or come out for the cheap beer at the stadium. Whatever it is you're coming out for. Seriously,
It'll be a good time.
Yeah, I recommend this ballpark. It's really nice.
Yeah.
It's really, really nice. I know a lot of people kind of poo-poo, like, oh, it's only 5,000 seats. How big is it?
Yeah.
Is it? It's pretty cool.
I think it's the perfect size.
yeah,
to
it's
be
pretty
honest.
cool for a 5,000 seat stadium.
Plus, the west end is like benches, so like you can spread out. You can like fit your whole family right next to you. It's great.
Right. There's a beer garden on the north zone. There's
And
full
the views.
chair backs on the east side.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, it's awesome. It's incredible. It's pretty cool. Anything else? Anything we're forgetting, Hema?
I don't think so. This is a quick pod today. We had a crazy weekend of sports balling,
All the sportsing.
all the sports.
Shout out to the Utah Royals. 1-1 draw at home with Portland. They eventually. I mean,
It's gonna come.
eventually
We're so close.
Eventually, they're gonna get that first win, right?
It's just absolutely. It's just closing out. We can do it. You got it, girls.
Getting there. Real Salt Lake continues their road span while the Royals are at home. Utah Jazz continuing the playoffs. Game 2 in Houston on Wednesday afternoon. Stay tuned to KSL TV, KSL.com, all that coverage. Until then, for Sportsbeat After Hours, I'm Sean Walker. He's...
Hemahemuli Jr.
This has been the Sportsbeat After Hours podcast.
Well, my. Well, my. Well, my. Well, my.